Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1993 Fiat Panda 4x4. Up front is a 1.1 liter inline 4 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Fiat Panda for multiple different reasons. First of all, never driven one before, but the second reason is that these were never sold here in the United States. These were some of the best-selling cars ever in Europe and its home country of Italy, of which this car was actually imported from. And so it's always fun to drive something with so much cultural impact as much as this Fiat Panda. And so I love hearing your guys' stories. Have you owned a Fiat Panda? Have you seen them? Did you grow up around them? I'd love to hear it in the comment section down below. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers like this retro sticker pack or big friggin' bottle sticker, both with free shipping. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 1.1 liter under the hood. Well, it makes about 50 horsepower. This was actually the largest engine that they offered in the Fiat Panda that was a gasoline engine. They also offered a 1.3 liter diesel, but unfortunately you could not get that with the four-wheel drive. So this was the biggest engine you could get with the four-wheel drive, and we'll be talking about that later on. But it is not fast. However, this car is so light and little that you really don't notice the lack of power all that much while just driving around. I love that. This was known as the Fire engine family from Fiat, and it was actually Fiat's first engine to be built by machines and not hand-built in their factories like every engine in the past. So this actually took a lot of human error out of the manufacturing process, which, as we all know, is a good thing. However, this car did not start off with always having a little four-cylinder. This car started in 1980 and actually had an air-cooled, ready for it, 2-cylinder engine that made 30 horsepower. So this little 4-cylinder is quite the upgrade over what originally came in these cars. Like I said, paired to it, 5-speed manual transmission. Nothing really crazy to note besides the fact that it's real easy to drive. The one thing to note is the fact that first gear is a granny gear, meaning it's very, very short for off-road purposes. If you're stuck in the mud, yeah, use first gear. But other than that, you can really start it in second and you'll be fine. Last but not least, like I said, this is four-wheel drive. And the four-wheel drive system was actually developed by the same people that designed the Mercedes G-Wagon four-wheel drive. And so you know it's an actual proper four-wheel drive system, and there's even aftermarket shops that will put in limited slip diffs for you if that's something that you desire. But this car actually has serious off-road prowess. These were used on farms in Italy. They're tough. They're really, really tough little suckers, and I love that. With that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a very simple gauge cluster, and that's gonna be a running theme throughout the vehicle. On the left, I have my speedometer. In the center, I get my fuel and coolant temperature. And on the right, I get some warning lights shown around what I can only imagine is definitely not a Fiat Panda diagram. The steering wheel does say Fiat in the center, but that's it. I obviously don't get an airbag or anything like that. I do get a horn. Good to know. Off to the left, I do have my turn signals, and my brights are actually on their own stalk. This is very, very interesting, but a little quirk of the Fiat Panda. Then I do have these vents up on the dash. These are actually just cold air vents. They just directly pass air through from under the windshield into the passenger compartment. No AC in the car, but that's okay. And then on the door, I have my window crank and my latch to get in and out. Kind of interesting, you pull it up. Kind of makes me feel like I'm in a fighter jet or something, pulling the ejector seat. Moving into the center, we do get our climate controls. No AC, and where it says Fiat off to the right, this is actually where normally you would get a clock, but this one didn't get that option. What you will notice is a lack of a radio. This was not optioned with a radio back in 1993. You could spec one. The owner of this car did not. So no radio. However, you do get this wide shelf going across the front. Very, very nice. And you get this ashtray, which you can actually slide across the front of this dash pocket. So if you want it closer to the window, you can do that. If you want it closer to you, you can do that as well. Very, very fun. Down on the center console, I do have a little bit of storage options, and we have the shifter. The shifter feels very, very good. Really like the shifter. It does have a very nice clunk in the gear, which I am very, very happy about. Although the shift knob is pretty cheap, it doesn't even give you the H pattern, it just gives you a rough estimate of where the gears are. Then I do have this little pull-up lever. This is to engage the four-wheel drive. So normally around town, like I am right now, the Fiat Panda is front-wheel drive. However, you can put it into four-wheel drive if that's something you'd like. Then I get the handbrake, meaning there are no cup holders here in the Fiat Panda. So, unfortunately, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Now, the seats are actually pretty comfortable. I love this fabric that's found throughout the whole interior of the Panda. I just love the 90s-ness of it, and although this is just a very basic, simple car from Italy, they still gave it a little bit of pizzazz. I love that. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review. Well, that's one very helpful thing. But this seat actually comes up and forward, which is really, really nice. So it allows getting in the back seat a little bit easier as I say that and struggle to get back here. But we are in the back seat of the Fiat Panda, something a lot of people, a lot of Europeans and a lot of Italians have experienced, but I have not until today. The seats are not super comfortable. They are a little bit hard, but that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to economy vehicles. Something I wanted to point out is that it says Fiat here on the windows, obviously manufactured by Fiat, and it's backwards here, but it's forwards over here on my right side. The reason for that is that the Fiat Panda has all completely flat glass. The windshield is not curved at all. It's completely flat. Rear window, side windows, all flat. And this piece of glass is actually the exact same piece as the one over here. That's why the lettering is backwards on one side and forwards on the other. That's not a production error. They use the exact same piece to cut down on manufacturing costs. All of the glass is flat. Easy to replace, easy to make, easy to cut, saves money, and we love that. Let's go take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Fiat Panda. Just a big button right there. Pull it up. And here is the trunk. Not a whole ton of space, arguably, or inarguably. However, I do get a little cargo cover, and it is a trunk. This is very, very common with vehicles like this. Check my Yugo review, check my Festiva review, check my Geo Metro review. Pretty standard across the board. However, you do get a trunk, and these seats do fold flat, which is very, very nice for loading. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love this little thing. It was designed by the same guy who actually designed the DeLorean and the Subaru SVX, and I think he did a really good job. I love looking at this little thing. Maybe it's because of my American eyes. I don't see these, well, this is actually my first time seeing one, so I don't see them often. Maybe that's why it's so interesting and unique to me, but whatever the case, I absolutely love how it looks. But now let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Panda 4x4? Well, I love this little thing. I really, really do. Let's get my actual driving opinions. Driving it, it drives like an economy basic car. It's very easy to drive. Clutch is nice and light. Steering is light. They're simple to operate. They're cheap to operate. And that's really the shining points of the Fiat Panda. And that is my final talking point as well, is the fact that this car helped motorize not only Italy, but Europe as a whole, much like the Volkswagen Beetle. And what's really caught my attention is that Fiat is a lot more important than I thought. I, historically here on the channel, I don't like Fiats. I don't like the new stuff that we get here in America. The Fiat 500X is tragic. The Fiat 500L was no better. The only good thing that we got here was the 124 Spider and the 500 Abarth. That's about it. Maybe the 500E. That was an okay car. But statistically, I don't really like Fiats. However, I love this one, and I really, really respect what Fiat has done in terms of motoring around the world. This car was one of the best selling cars in Europe for almost its entire production run, from 1980 Till 2003, you could buy one that looked just like this in 2003. But not only with that, not only with the original Fiat 500 and 600, but Fiat also helped and sold parts to Lada, which built cars that gave people in Soviet countries transportation. Lada motorized Russia and the USSR. Fiat also sold parts and was copied by Yugo, who gave Yugoslavians their own form of transportation. Fiat also sold the rights to Poland, where they built the 126P and put Poland on wheels. And that's the coolest thing. Not only am I driving this car and getting to experience a old European, old Italian car, but I also get a geography lesson. I also get an economics lesson. I get to learn so much history and culture through driving a car. And that's why I do all of this. That's why I do these reviews. Through this vehicle, I get to learn about the world I live in. And that is definitely special. This car is special. It's so important to Italians and Europeans at large. And so I am incredibly thankful that Marco has let me drive his American imported Fiat Panda, one of only a handful in the country. This is just so superb, so cool, so unique, and I'm very, very thankful. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.